Good afternoon and welcome to the October 13th, 2022 hearing of the Seminole County, Florida Special Magistrate. Before we begin, I'd like to advise everyone about the procedures that govern appearances before me. This meeting is open to the public under Florida's Government in the Sunshine. Therefore, every effort will be made to hear all persons having relevant evidence or argument to offer. The ethics law of the state of Florida requires that the county keep track of every person who appears before an official hearing officer of the county, whether in an effort to influence decision-making or to encourage the passage, defeat, or modification of any proposal or recommendation. In order to implement state law, it is required that every person who appears before me register with the clerk to my left. The cases where the respondents are present and signed in will be heard first. You will be sworn in or affirmed by the clerk. Once all cases where the respondents are present have been heard, I will return to hear the remaining cases as they appear on the agenda. When your case is called, please be seated at the table reserved for the respondents, which is right over here. In that the county has the burden of proving a violation exists, the county will present their case first, and then the respondents will be allowed to present their case. Additionally, please limit your comments to only information relating to the case. Each party may question witnesses offered on behalf of the other party. Additionally, staff members may question those appearing before me. I will then make a decision based upon the evidence and testimony as presented by both parties. All proceedings before me are electronically recorded. Please speak directly into the microphone at the center of the table and state your name clearly before presenting your case. Should you need assistance due to a hearing impairment or a language barrier, please inform the clerk upon registration. To avoid interference with cases being presented to me, all cell phones and other electronic devices are to be turned off or silenced while inside the chambers. Thank you for your cooperation. Do you want to do the swearing in? Okay.
You're going to be testifying. Could you please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn in? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Your right hand, please, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth? Thank you.
Okay, the first case will be 2290 CESM, Respondent Nercius.
Right there, sir. You?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name's Reverend Sincere.
Okay. I will, sir, not to interrupt you, I'll let the county go first because they have the burden of proof, and then when they're done, you can go next. All right?
Thank
you. So you can hear what they have to say. Go ahead.
All right. Kyle Kasich, Building Inspector. I have presented a copy of this presentation to the clerk and request it be entered into the record.
It's accepted. Thank you.
Case number 2290 CESM is for the property located at 534 Tulane Drive, Altamont Springs, which is owned by Sincere and Evelyn M. Nercius. The violation charged is Seminole County Code Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. Description of the violation is installation of a new electrical panel without the required permit. The case summary is as follows. The initial inspection was on 5/19/21. Notice to respondent was 5/19/21. Compliance date was 2/9/22. Follow-up inspections as shown, both on-site visit and via computer. Results of the re-inspections, the violation remains on the property. This screenshot from the property appraiser's website shows Sincere and Evelyn M. Nercius are the record owners of the property.
Yes.
This photograph shows the posting of the notice for this hearing on the property.
Yes.
This is a photograph of the violation taken 1/21/22, another 3/17/22, and finally 10/12/22. This screen shows no permits applied for or issued to correct the violation. Permit 21-965 is for the roof-mounted photovoltaic solar system and does not correct this violation. This permit is for the solar tie-in only and does not include the panel. This shows a copy of Chapter 40 in which they are in violation of. Recommendation, based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 2290 CESM, is determined that the respondents are the record owners of the property located at 534 Tulane Drive, Altamont Springs, in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser's records, in possession or control of the property, and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. It is further recommended that the special magistrate order the respondents to correct the violation on or before January 12th, 2023. In order to correct the violation, the respondent shall obtain the required permit for the cited violation. If the respondents do not comply with the order, a fine of $50 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. The respondents must contact the inspector to verify compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Sir, do you wish to respond?
Yes, my name is Nurse Sincere. I'm living on the 534 Tulane Drive, Altamont Springs, Florida. And we have in the Blue Heaven requirement in the permit. I signed out for it did installation in a panel on my house. So they come to my office, I sign to give it authorization for its installation and a permit notice for that work. But the work was done in a sense in March on 3, 2021. And after almost a year, we receive a notice about a violation for installation. I call in Blue Heaven. I say, I remember you make me sign the paper. You said to do a permit for work done. The work done is not done like I need, but I give him all the detailed information I received from Seminole County. They say he called, he stuck, he say he has a paper to prove his permit before he do the work. So I got he was put a permit outside the box. This one he was give it to me.
Which one is that?
That one he make me sign for the permit.
Oh, that's your application?
Correct.
Okay.
I send that, I give it to them, then they start work. I don't know if he got something wrong.
I think, is this the permit you referred to that includes
Correct.
only a part of the work?
They exceeded their scope of work, so they did more than what they were permitted to do by replacing the electrical panel. So your options to come into compliance are to either get a permit for the electrical panel or get a demo permit to have it removed, but in that case, you wouldn't have an electrical panel, so your best bet is going to be to just get a permit for the electrical panel that was replaced.
Okay, so according my understood is the work you do, but I'm recommend them 90 days for you remove everything because he should be got a permit to do it. I'm great. So they say he asked me about a 60 days for you remove and a panel and everything. I'm done with that.
Okay, so you think 90 days is enough time for you to get this taken care of?
Yes.
Okay, so then we'll go ahead and issue the staff's recommended order. You'll have 90 days until January 12th of 2023 to come into compliance. So right now, there would be no fines. But if it's not in compliance by January 12th, then the county can give you another notice to come back, and at that point, fines could be imposed. So if you have any issues, make sure you keep in touch with staff.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That's all.
Okay, the next case, and I'm trying to go in the order that everyone arrived, is 2292 CESM, Respondent Day. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Kyle Kasich, Building Inspector. I have presented a copy of this presentation to the clerk and request it be entered into the record.
It's accepted, thank you.
Case number 2292 CESM is for the property located at 2325 Audley Street, Oviedo, which is owned by Gloria Day. The violation charge is Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. The description of the violation is enclosed structure under the carport area creating living space and construction of a canopy over the well without the required permits. The case summary is as follows. The initial inspection was 6/10/21. Notice to respondent was 12/10/21. Compliance date was 1/27/22. Follow-up inspections as shown both on-site visit and via computer. Results of the re-inspections, violations remain on the property. This screenshot from the property appraiser's website shows Gloria Day is the record owner of the property. This is a photograph showing the posting of the notice for this hearing on the property. This is a photograph of the unpermitted enclosed structure under the carport taken 6/10/21. This is a loft in the enclosed structure taken 6/10/21. These are further photos of inside of the enclosed structure taken 2/23/22. Again, photos of the interior of the structure. And this is a photo of the canopy over the well taken 2/23/22.
Did you take these photos?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, so you were given permission to go in and,
Yes, ma'am. I met
Okay.
with the homeowner on the property.
thanks.
All right. And then finally, you can see the structure under the pole barn taken 10/12/22 under the carport structure. This screen shows an application was received on 4/23/20 to partially correct the violation. This application is currently under review and has not been issued as a permit. Permit 20-5731 is for a storage facility. No permit applications have been received to correct the canopy over the well. This is a copy of the application and date applied for a storage facility under the carport. Plan tracking information is the application is currently in plan check status pending corrections from zoning and building review departments. This shows a copy of Chapter 40 in which they are in violation of. Recommendation based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 2292 CESM, it is determined that the respondent is the record owner of the property located at 2325 Audley Street, Oviedo, in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser's records, in possession or control of the property, and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. It is further recommended that the special magistrate order a respondent to correct the violation on or before December 8th, 2022. In order to correct the violations, the respondent shall obtain the required permits for the cited violations. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $50 will be imposed for each day the violations continue or are repeated after compliance. The respondent must contact the inspector to verify compliance. This concludes my presentation. Also, I would like to give a copy of the corrections needed on that permit to Ms. Gloria Day.
Okay.
This is printed directly on the system. This is everything you'll need to correct to get that permit approved from the building department. You'll have to get with zoning for their corrections.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Day, do you wish to respond?
Yes, about the canopy, what I want to do is to apply for a permit, and I went already and request the paper to fill out the permit, and for the construction under the porch, I believe I'm going to apply for a demolition because honestly, I appreciate the time that you gave me the last time, but I can find a person to help me with that. I reached to so many contractors, and they're asking for a lot of crazy money that I don't want to spend, and I prefer to apply for a demolition permit and finish with that, because I don't even have an idea of what they're asking me, and I don't want to continue coming and asking for time when I don't want to waste your guys' time too, and that's what I'm going to do, because I request also a couple companies the last couple weeks, but no one has answered nothing about, to check if they can help me with this. And until December 8th, it's going to be also. I think it's going to be a challenge, and I prefer to get rid of that.
Okay, understood. And then demolition of that portion would bring that part of the violation into compliance, and then she would just have to deal with the carport.
Because there is electrical and plumbing in it, it will require a demolition permit.
Yeah.
Now, that demolition permit counts as a permit covering the violation. So once you have that permit issued, that portion of the violation will be covered. Now, keep in mind, you have 180 days from the time of issuance of the permit to pass an inspection, or the permit will expire, leaving you exactly in the place you are now.
I understand.
So from the time as soon as the permit is issued, that portion of the violation is removed. You have 180 days from the time that permit is issued to have an inspector come out and see that it's been demolished and demolished safely. If you
Yes.
exceed that 180 days, the violation will come back.
I understand.
Okay, so anything further on that?
No.
Okay, I'll go ahead and issue staff's recommended order, so you'll have 60 days to come into compliance, and just keep in touch with staff if you have any issues, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next case is 2277 CESM, Respondent B&B Landholding LLC. Good afternoon.
Hello. Hello.
Kyle Kasich, Building Inspector. I have presented a copy of this presentation to the clerk and request it be entered into the record.
It's accepted, thank you.
Case number 2277 CESM is for the property located at 3468 East State Road 436, Apopka, which is owned by B&B Landholding LLC. The violation charged is Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. The description of the violation is the constructed masonry wall with electrical conduit in the back portion of the property and a shed-type structure at the front of the building without the required permits. The case summary is as follows. The initial inspection was 2/16/22. Notice to respondent was 2/22/22. Compliance date was 4/13/22. Follow-up inspections as shown both on-site visit and via computer. Results of re-inspections, the violations remain on the property. This screenshot from the property appraiser's website shows B&B Land Holdings LLC is the record owner of the property. This photograph shows the posting of the notice for this hearing on the property. This is a photograph of the violation taken 2/16/22. Another photograph taken 2/16/22. And a photograph of the shed-type violation taken 2/16/22. Again, 3/28/22, 3/28/22, and 9/7/22, and finally 10/12/22. This screen shows no permits applied for or issued to correct the violations, and for the record, in order, those top three permits are for a re-roof, a sidewalk, and a fence, so none of those permits cover the violation.
Okay.
This shows a copy of Chapter 40 in which they are in violation of. Recommendation, based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 2277 CESM, it is determined that the respondent is the record owner of the property located at 3468 East State Road 436 Apopka in Seminole County as determined by the property appraiser's records in possession or control of the property and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. It is further recommended that the special magistrate order the respondent to correct the violations on or before December 8th, 2022. In order to correct the violations, the respondent shall obtain the required permits for the cited violations. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $50 will be imposed each day the violations continue or are repeated after compliance. The respondent must contact the inspector to verify compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Does the respondent wish to respond?
Yes.
Okay.
We're the contractors.
Okay, and just for the record, are you the property owner, sir?
That is correct.
Okay, and are you authorizing the contractor here to speak for you?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay. We came into contact with this property a couple of months ago, around about August. The work was done prior to our involvement. So our involvement now is to legalize the work that was done without a permit. So we need a little bit more time than December 8th to cure it. The size and scope of the work exceeds the time that we have here. We have civil engineering needs to be done, building engineering. So the steps involved to cure these issues are a little bit more in depth.
When were you hired?
August, the beginning of August.
Okay, and have you taken any steps to
Yes.
come into?
Yes, I've applied for a pre-hearing, a pre-application hearing with your department, and we're still working that out. But plans still are in the process of being developed.
So is that with the planning department that you would have the pre-application? Or
Zoning. I believe
Zoning,
it's zoning.
okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so how much time are you asking for?
If you can give me January 15th, that should give us enough
We can
time.
do January 12th,
Yes, ma'am.
only because we
Oh,
do the cycles as to when our next hearing date is.
I understand.
So 3 days difference. Okay.
What are the different cycles that you have available?
Well, the county doesn't want to give you longer than December 8th, but based on the fact that you are already actively working towards it and you have meetings scheduled with zoning staff, I'm willing to go to January 12th.
Okay.
Okay, but if you have any issues, just follow up with staff as that date gets closer and see, if you can work things out or not. Otherwise, you may be back here on January 12th if it's not fixed up by then. Okay?
Understand.
Okay, thank you. So, January 12th. You'll get a written order in the mail as well.
Thank you very much.
Okay? You're welcome.
You're good. We're done.
You guys are
We're
good.
done. You're good.
Okay, the next case is 2295 CESM, Respondent Richardson. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We're going to have the county start, and then we'll let you respond.
Kyle Kasich, Building Inspector. I have presented a copy of this presentation to the clerk and request it be entered into the record.
It's accepted, thank you.
Case number 2295 CESM is for the property located at 3096 Nicholson Drive, Winter Park, which is owned by Claude Richardson Jr. The violation charged is Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. Description of the violation is exterior electrical panel changeout completed without the required permit. The case summary is as follows. The initial inspection was 5/3/22. Notice to respondent was on 5/4/22. Compliance date was 8/2/22. Follow-up inspections as shown both on-site visit and via computer. The results of the re-inspections, the violation remains on the property. This screenshot from the property appraiser's website shows Claude Richardson Jr. is the record owner of the property. This photograph shows the posting of the notice for this hearing on the property. This is a photograph of the violation taken 5/3/22. Another photograph taken 7/12/22. And finally, 10/12/22. This screen shows no permits applied for or issued to correct the violation. The top 3 permits are a voided solar permit, a completed solar permit, and a voided electric permit. The electrical permits were voided. The permit 224206 and 226623 were voided due to exceeding the 12-day upload period. Electrical permit 225397 was completed for roof-mounted solar panel installation. This shows a copy of Chapter 40 in which they are in violation of. Recommendation based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 2295 CESM, it is determined that the respondent is the record owner of the property located at 3096 Nicholson Drive, Winter Park, in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser's records, in possession or control of the property, and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. It is further recommended that the special magistrate order the respondent to correct the violation on or before December 8th, 2022. In order to correct the violation, the respondent shall obtain the required permit for the cited violation. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $50 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. The respondent must contact the inspector to verify compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Does the respondent wish to respond?
Yes, please. I wanted to just share a little bit of information from my point of view. The situation for me is that I'm a relatively newer homeowner. I bought this house in 2020 in the summer. I got it inspected, and so I didn't have any violations that came up at the time of the inspection. The first violation that I heard of was when Kyle came over to the house earlier this summer. The reason I think that there's a violation is because I was interested in getting solar panels on the house, and so there have been some companies that came out there, and one of them actually did do some housework and installed the solar panels. And so since then, I reached out to them because I started getting the notices for the violation, and they let me know that they didn't change the electrical panel. And so I'm just trying to figure out what is really going on here. And so once I realized that the solar companies really are not going to be helpful in getting to a resolution, I've been contacting electrical contractors to get a permit for this electrical panel. I don't really know why I'm having these issues, but especially since the hurricane, I've been getting a lot of contacts who don't answer the phone. I've made several appointments. Some companies have not shown up, and one of them called me to say that they don't do permitting work on work that somebody else did. And so right now, I'm still looking to hire an electrical contractor. I'm interested in correcting any and all violations. And so what I'm really looking for is a little bit of time to do so.
Okay, I'd like to just ask the county a question, though, because the respondent just testified that his contractor did not switch out the electric panel.
Even if the contractor wasn't the one to change the panel, it is not original to the home, and there were no permits pulled to replace it. So it has been replaced at some point without the permits. And if you don't mind if I respond to that. In response to you being unable to find a contractor, if you both own and live in the home, you can get an owner-builder permit. So you would apply as your own contractor. So you would just need to apply for a permit up at the front counter. They'll be able to tell you what you'll need to get that permit, what kind of documentation they'll need from you. And then once you have that documentation and present it with an application for an owner-builder permit to change out that electrical panel, and once that permit is issued, the violation will then go away. Now, once you call in an inspection, you may pass or fail depending on if they did the job right, whoever put the panel in. But if they did do the job right, you're golden. If they didn't, you'll just have to find someone who can repair the issue.
I can do that at the front counter in this building?
Correct. If you go through these double doors here, go through the other set of double doors, make a left, go through both of those sets of double doors, and then make another left, and that counter right there is the permitting counter. And if you speak to them, they'll be able to direct you to what you would need to apply for that permit.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so do you have anything further, sir?
I'll be going there after this.
Okay, great. Then I'll go ahead and issue staff's recommended order. You'll have until December 8th to come into compliance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other respondents in the room? Okay, do you have that name?
2288, Simon.
Okay, thank you. Okay, sir, I think we need to swear you in because you were not here at the beginning, so if you don't mind standing, the clerk will swear you in, and then after that, you can come have a seat.
If you could raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give us the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, the current case is 2288 CSM, respondent Mr. Simon. We'll just let the county go first, and then you can respond, sir. Okay, thank you.
Kyle Kasich, Building Inspector. I have presented a copy of this presentation to the clerk and request it be entered into the record.
It's accepted, thank you.
Case number 2288 CESM is for the property located at 2071 Wood Thrush Lane, Winter Park, which is owned by Ronald and Kelly Simon. The violation charge is Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. The description of the violation is the installation of a gazebo without the required permit. Case summary is as follows. The initial inspection was 12/6/21. Notice to respondent was 12/20/21. Compliance date was 4/14/22. Follow-up inspections as shown both on-site visit and via computer. Results of the re-inspections are that the violation remains on the property. This screenshot from the property appraiser's website shows Ronald and Kelly Simon are the record owners of the property. This photograph shows the posting of the notice for this hearing on the property. This is a photograph of the violation taken 12/6/21, 3/8/22, and 3/28/22, I apologize, and 10/12/22. This screen shows no permits have been applied for or issued to correct the violation. Permit 21-23571 is for a gazebo, but it was voided due to exceeding the 12-day upload period.
What is the 12-day upload period?
It means that they had not submitted the correct amount of documents within the
12
12-day
days.
grace period, so it
Okay.
was then voided.
Gotcha.
This shows a copy of Chapter 40 in which they are in violation of. Recommendation based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 2288, it is determined that the respondents are the record owners of the property located at 2071 Wood Thrush Lane, Winter Park, in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser's records, in possession or control of the property, and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. It is further recommended that the special magistrate order the respondents to correct the violation on or before January 12th, 2023. In order to correct the violation, the respondent shall obtain the required permit for the cited violation. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $50 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. The respondent must contact the inspector to verify compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Does the respondent wish to respond?
If I may. Appreciate it. So we did do the improvement project within our backyard to do a hardscaping project, a planting, a landscaping project in addition to a gazebo. We were not aware that there was a permit that was required for it based on guidance from our landscaper who did the work. When we informed the landscaper that there was a permit required based on the notifications that we received from this office, they attempted to submit for permitting, and I believe that that's the activity that you showed in late December where that attempt had occurred. Subsequent to that, I got another notice from this office sometime early last year, February or March, and that was the first time that I had heard that there was no further action or attention on the submission for the permit. I reached back out to the landscaping committee to the landscaper whom I hired to try to understand exactly what occurred. What they informed me was that apparently within the permitting requirement, there was some engineering information that was required for the structure itself, and based on the fact that it was a prefabricated unit that was purchased from a big box store, and that they just went through the process of installing and reinforcing it in a certain way, they felt that they couldn't furnish any of the required documentation for the permit to proceed forward with it. Unfortunately, I was informed of this about 4 months, or 3 or 4 months after the process was voided. Since then, I've been attempting to engage with the landscaping company directly to try to get towards a resolution of this. At this point, my preferred resolution was to obviously figure out if we can permit this thing, because I think that it's probably pretty solid, but I don't know if we have a pathway of doing that if there's not a clear path to meet the requirements of the permitting submission. My alternative would be obviously to go through the process of destruction of it, and then putting up a structure that either meets the obligations for the required permitting or falls, I believe that 120 square feet is the limit. So if I did a 12 by 10 structure, then I believe that I'd probably be safe in that situation.
Under 120 square feet would still require a permit. It
Okay.
just doesn't require the engineered drawings. It requires showing how you've anchored it to the ground.
Got it. Which would probably be a lot easier since the engineering study wouldn't be the requirement at that point. So I think that my first option would be to hopefully figure out a way to get this permitted, and then if not, then my second option would be to destruct it and go through a process, or go through a structure that wouldn't require as much overhead, for lack of a better term, in terms of the permitting requirements.
That sounds right. Is that right?
Correct. Now, again, as with the previous respondent, you are, if you live and own the property, you are able to get an owner-builder permit if you are unable to get a contractor to work with you. Now, that would still require you to have architect or engineered drawings. If you are not in contact already with an architect or engineer, you can go to myfloridalicense.com. That's for the Department of Building and Professional Regulation. If you go there, you can select license by type, and then you can look up engineering and architect license holders and break it down, even down to county and city, so you can see who's near you, so that you would be able to get that permit yourself if you can't find a contractor willing to work with you.
Okay, so I can hire what sounds like you're saying is I can identify an independent engineer to do an assessment on the existing structure and determine whether or not there's a pathway for permitting.
Correct.
Wow, that would have been okay, all right. That's okay. I think I can work with that. Okay, so because I'm trying to go down two pathways here, number one, to see if the existing structure can be indeed permitted, or number two, go through the process of potentially destructing the structure and putting something else up. What do I need to make sure that I meet by the January 12th date? Is it just understanding whether or not the engineering study can occur, or do I need to have a complete plan of saying?
I think you need to receive your actual permit or have it removed, but I will let staff respond to that.
Correct. The permit must be issued by January 12th. We gave an extra 30 days over
Sure.
the standard 60 because we understand this is a little complicated to
Yeah.
get through. If you are still unable to come into compliance by that date and still, but are on steps to correct it, you can come in on that hearing date, the hearing before that compliance date, and request more time. But that is the time that the building official was willing to give.
Got it. Okay.
But if that was to occur, if you did not have your permit in time, staff would notice you with another notice of hearing, correct?
Correct.
Got it. Okay, so really focus on step one, see if I can determine, or get an engineering
Correct.
authorization on it, get permitting for it, and if that doesn't work, then I might need to ask for some more time to destruct potentially, I don't know.
Correct. And your best bet is to keep in touch with us and keep us updated on the progress, because the more we can put into your case file, the better it looks for you, because it keeps showing that you're making active steps to try to come into compliance, which then gives the building official a much better reason to actually grant you that extension of time.
Got it, and I do appreciate this office's information thus far. This office has been very supportive early on this year, so.
That's good to hear. Okay, so you will be mailed an order. We'll give you the 90 days through January 12th, and then there's no fines between now and then. If it's not in compliance by the 12th, you could have fines unless you get an extension of time.
Okay.
Did you have something to add?
It was just a reminder that it can be an architect or engineer.
An architect, but the website that you referenced gives me both, or is it just
You
engineering?
can select by license type.
By license type.
So let's say you didn't even want to bother with the pulling a owner-builder permit and you wanted a contractor, you can go in there and select construction. I'm trying to remember how it's worded, but there's a section that says construction, and you can go in there and look up different license types and select, let's say, a licensed residential building contractor, and then again, select city, state, county, all that, narrow down your results. It's very much a search engine for contractors.
Got it. And you said it was MyFlorida?
myfloridalicense.com.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, and the final case today is 2294 CESM, Respondent Turner.
Kyle Kasich, Building Inspector. I have presented a copy of this presentation to the clerk and request it be entered into the record.
It's accepted, thank you.
Case number 2294 CESM is for the property located at 5635 North Road, Sanford, which is owned by Jason Turner. The violation charged is Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. The description of the violation is enclosing of a structure with stucco and new windows and installation of a shed and metal carport without the required permits. The case summary is as follows. The initial inspection was 3/11/22. Notice to respondent was 3/16/22. Compliance date was 5/2/22. Follow-up inspections, as shown, both on-site visit and via computer. Results of the re-inspections are that the violations remain on the property. This screenshot from the property appraiser's website shows Jason Turner is the record owner of the property. This photograph shows the posting of the notice for this hearing on the property. This is a photograph of the violation, carport not visible, taken 3/11/22. This is an aerial photograph of the violation showing an open structure and metal carport as of 1/15/2007. The structure was enclosed between January 21 and February 22. An aerial photograph showing open structure, shed, and metal carport as of 1/29/21. There's another aerial showing enclosed structure, shed, and metal carport as of 2/1/22. This is a photograph of the violations taken 6/29/22. And another photograph of the violations taken 10/12/22. And again, 10/12/22. This screen shows no permits applied for or issued to correct the violations. 21-21153 is an issued permit for fence and concrete block wall. 0729477 is a voided permit for a detached garage. This shows a copy of Chapter 40 in which they are in violation of. Recommendation, based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 2294 CESM, it is determined that the respondent is the record owner of the property located at 5635 North Road, Sanford, in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser's records, in possession or control of the property, and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. It is further recommended that the special magistrate order the respondent to correct the violation on or before December 8th, 2022. In order to correct the violations, the respondent shall obtain the required permits for the cited violations. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $50 will be imposed for each day the violations continue or are repeated after compliance. The respondent must contact the inspector to verify compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Have you heard from the respondent at all? Any response?
I have not. Have you heard from?
Comes to the front counter and just basically says that he doesn't need a permit.
Gotcha. Okay. I will go ahead and issue staff's recommended order for 60 days for compliance. Okay? And that was our last case, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so at this point, we will confirm the date of the next meeting, which is actually going to be November 17th, not November 10th. So November 17th, 2022 at 1:30 PM. And with that, we will adjourn.